I thirst. This is an expression that was so important to St. Mother Teresa that, like we've done here, she had made sure that every chapel that her sisters ever prayed in had those two words next to the cross. I thirst. And it all began when she was meditating one time on that verse from John's Gospel where Jesus from the cross says the words, I thirst. And she realized that while there might have been a physical thirst, of course, it was much deeper than that. It was Jesus' thirst for souls, for love, for Jesus himself, from the very depth of his being, loved tremendously and wanted souls for himself. I thirst. You know, this week, if you're following along with the book, I Thirst, the 40 Days with Mother Teresa book that we've been using, this particular week is going to be dedicated to prayer as thirst. Now, I know if I talk to Catholics in general, when I ask them about prayer, and I ask them what they think about prayer, most of them describe the Transfiguration pretty much. For them, like, my prayer has to be this grand revelation of Jesus Christ and him glowing in front of me and a voice that's confirming him as the Son of God. And that's what my prayer ought to be like. And every time I go to pray, it ought to be like that. And how's that going? You know, it's interesting because prayer isn't like that, really. When you think about it, prayer isn't like that at all. Prayer, in fact, I have found through my own experience, is pretty much ordinary and mundane. It's just a day-to-day kind of thing. See, the way I look at it, okay, when I go to pray, when I sit down to pray, there's a void that's within me. There's a gap that God created within all of us. There's this void that he's created in all of us that only can be filled with love. Can only be filled with love. Now, of course, we can receive love from each other, but it's most perfectly filled when that void is filled with God, with grace, with Christ. Exactly like what St. Paul was telling his good buddy, St. Timothy. We need to be filled with him. And when I go to pray, more often than not, it's not a grand revelation. It's almost never this grand revelation. Most prayer is just the day-to-day sitting down, listening, offering, and asking God to be with me. And God is. I think most of you could probably bear that out. Like, think of any relationship you have. Most of our relationships are not the high experience. You might have these big experiences in a relationship where there's just some sort of like all of a sudden, just a grand moment where the two of you are just suddenly like, wow, this is such a great moment to be together. But let's face it, most of married life, most of family life is just pretty ordinary day-to-day activities. And that's going to be our prayer as well. Ordinary, everyday activities from one day to the next. This void that I speak of, it's this desire in all of us. We all desire to love and be loved. It's in every human being. I don't care what culture, I don't care what religion, I don't care what area someone's from. You go to anywhere in the world, and God made sure that this desire, this void within us, God made sure that we all are going to have it. And we all do have it. And it has to be filled somehow. And some of us, well, we try to fill it in a variety of different ways. But those other ways, Father Langford makes very clear, are false. They're false satiations to our thirst. They don't really satisfy the thirst. And that's why, again and again, we come back to it again and again. Like, why am I not feeling like God is with me? Why am I not feeling that this is it? And that's because when God created it, he wanted us to continually seek until that one time when we're praying, we finally realize this is it. God is here with me. I love what Father Langford does, especially the last 2 days. The last 2 days of this week, we're going to talk about trust. We have to trust. Now, for most of us, trust is something that's earned. Like there's certain people that we might trust. But think about it with God. God doesn't have to earn it from us because he automatically gets it. When we trust God, as he says, basically we know that we'll be cared for. Everything we need will be satisfied. When we totally abandon ourselves, when we totally empty ourselves to receive God, that's trust. When we totally let go of all the stuff that binds us, that's trust. When we come to our prayer we have to come to our prayer empty. One of the goals of prayer, it was a priest that was a summer priest, who's now a bishop actually back in India. It was a summer priest who used to come, who had studied spirituality. And so one time I'm standing in the sacristy with him, and I said to him, Father, you've done all this study. What is the goal of prayer? And without a hesitation, he said, union with God. Union with God. A love relationship with God. Being totally connected to God is the goal of our prayer. And that's when we're satisfied. That's when our thirst, that desire, that pull within us to want to receive love and give love, that's when it's satisfied, when we're fully united. That's why, like in marriage, we talk about the union of the souls of the husband and wife, a union that satisfies. One of the things that I think for many of us sitting here right now that is a challenge, and it's a real challenge, is how do I pray? It's a very common question. One of the things that I always say is I love going before the Blessed Sacrament. Now, I openly admit it, I'm spoiled because I have my own Blessed Sacrament chapel right in my house. I don't even have to take my slippers off in the morning to visit Jesus. So it's a little bit more work from you. I get it. But that's why the staff has been so big, especially these last few Lents, of trying to give you opportunities to be here in the church before the Blessed Sacrament exposed. So every night this week and every night throughout Lent, Monday to Friday, the Blessed Sacrament is going to be out from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and we're going to be reflecting on the book from Father Langford about Mother Teresa. But on Mondays especially, we're going to extend that hour, and instead of doing our usual prayers from 7 to 8, we're going to have special prayers that are going to include prayers like healing and mercy and all these different things. So every Monday night, be here also from 7 to 8. I highly encourage all of you, too, to not let Lent get away. We're only in the second week. If it's kind of been sloppy already and you're not really getting to the things that you promised and the things you gave up, you're not really giving up anyway, yeah, that's okay. Pick it up this week. Get back on that horse, get it going again. But one of the things you can do are things like Stations of the Cross. But I also highly recommend at some point during Lent, go to confession. If you really want to fill the void in your heart that only God can fill, experience His mercy. Experience His mercy, and that, for me, bar none, is when I absolutely know that, yeah, God does love me. Because I mess up. I make all sorts of mistakes. I do all these things, and I can just come before Him and say, Lord, I'm sorry. Okay, you're forgiven. Wow. We have a thirst. All of us have a thirst. Next week, we're going to really see, like last week, we saw the physical thirst, Jesus in the desert, but we saw that it was much more than that because Jesus was so in union with His Father that when tempted was able to resist and was able to stand strong. Because let's face it, how many of us, when we're out in the desert, 40 days, no food, no drink, and the devil comes along and says, you want some bread? Here, turn these stones into bread. Wouldn't any of us, if we had the power, do it? Next week, we hear the woman at the well. The epitome of I thirst. And I'm actually looking forward to that one because I got some really good thoughts planned about that one. But that particular gospel in our Lenten journey this year, that particular gospel is going to speak volumes. It's going to speak huge volumes. The week after, the man born blind, got really good things to say about that because of our own blindness. But in our thirst, in our desire, in that whole push within us, every desire that we have moves us to do something. Hopefully we start to figure out that the right movement is toward God, not towards things, not towards the stuff that really doesn't satisfy. And so as we unfold the rest of Lent, be with us. Recognize your thirst. Know that that thirst is what motivates you, and then allow that thirst to motivate you to change so that you grow closer to God and not further from God in sin by going after the false things that don't satisfy. I know that one of the things that we need to do is pray, and so this week especially, if you come and spend time in the church each night, you're going to have a chance to pray and pray with each other and be there with each other. That's key. That's key because praying together is much more powerful than praying alone. I know it from my own experience. Praying together is far more powerful than praying alone. And so be part of the prayer team, be part of the prayer chain, and be part of what's going to make a difference in this world that so desperately needs to be satisfied by God. And so know that I'll keep you in my prayers. Please keep us in your prayers as well. For when we pray for one another, there we see some of those aspects of the love for the other. I pray for you because I desire your good. God bless you.